From the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, this is Nebraska Farmcast. I'm Ryan Evans, and on this episode, we'll look at a critical decision point for cow-calf producers, which is whether to retain heifers or not. This decision can have implications on the operational goals, finances, and the herd's genetic future for cow-calf operators. To explore what to consider in this decision-making process, I'm glad to be joined by TL Meyer, a Livestock Systems Educator with Nebraska Extension. TL has just authored a new article on the topic, which you can find on our center's website at cap.unl.edu, linked to in the notes for this podcast as well. TL, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Definitely. And to start us off, if you can just discuss some of those primary factors that influence a producer's decision to retain replacement heifers or not, particularly in this current economic climate?
Sure. The market has been very good for cattle producers right now, as we all know. And we saw a lot of heifer calves get sold last fall. Now, I'm not an economist, but we have seen signs that the herd is not necessarily, U.S. cow herd is not necessarily rebuilding yet. And in addition to these lovely prices we're seeing, we've seen costs rise quite a bit in the last 4 to 5 years. And so short-term goals might have looked better by selling off heifers and paying down some debt, paying off bills, feed costs have risen. And in that instance, then for the producers that do retain their replacements, we need to be thinking about how do we rebuild that cow herd? And let me be clear, this market gives us a lot of different opportunities than we might usually see. Producers need to remain flexible. So the thing here is, what are your operations goals? How do you want to replace females in your cow herd?
And when it comes to operational goals and breeding objectives, how do those align with the decision to retain heifers or not? And then what risks should producers be preparing to manage?
Well, as I mentioned just a bit ago, feed costs are probably the biggest component of our cow-calf operation, and those have definitely not lessened over the years. We've also, different parts of the state, different years, have recently dealt with drought. So again, what are the goals of your operation? Is it to sell a weaned calf at weaning? Is it to sell cattle for grass later on? Or in some cases, are you retaining them through the feedlot and selling a end product? The other question is your goal pounds at weaning, or is it to develop a cow herd that best suits the environment your operation is in? This is going to make a difference in how you go about replacing females in your herd.
So considering those substantial costs associated with raising replacement heifers, labor, feed, healthcare, what's your recommendation to producers on how they should calculate their return on investment? And then if you can, offer what the indicators of a successful replacement strategy might be.
Again, we want to stay flexible in this market. There's so many different ways we can go about replacing females in our herd. I spoke with a pretty well-respected auctioneer here about a month ago, and one of the suggestions he actually made to me is right now it might actually be better to buy bred heifers, which seem extremely high right now. But the market indicates that we should see some good calf prices this fall, and we might be able to recoup those costs on those bred females. But a lot of people like retaining their own replacement heifers because they fit their environment, they fit their operation. The thing is, I also spoke with another producer who mentioned that right now he went ahead and sold his heifer calves because just the cost of feed to get them to summer grass this year was going to cost him $1,350 per head. So we're going to have some high inputs right now, regardless of what method we choose. In some cases, if producers are closer to harvested feed, closer to those kinds of resources, they might be better off purchasing older cows, short-term cows, getting calves out of that situation. By purchasing short-term cows or buying bred heifers, there's always going to be risk involved, no matter what option we choose. It's either we look at high feed costs to build up to develop those heifers, or, we buy an older cow or a bred heifer from an auction, or maybe we buy it from a reputable buyer, which is great, or reputable breeder. But buying from the auction, we don't necessarily know temperament. During transport, sometimes we may lose a calf or a pregnancy. Just there's a lot of different risks involved depending on what option you do to build your cow herd or replace females in your cow herd.
Yeah, and in your article, you do write about the role of market dynamics in the decision to sell or retain heifers. So can you just discuss how producers can navigate market fluctuations and make the best decisions they can based on both current market trends and any future predictions?
Yes. One thing I would suggest is we probably need to I haven't seen what pairs are selling for yet this spring. I don't think we've seen a lot of them sell yet. That might be another way of building the herd back or replacing females. It also might be a way in the short term with short-term cows calving out, selling back females. Please know I'm not going to cover every way of replacing females as we talk today. I'm sure I will forget something, but there's just a lot of flexibility, and paying attention to those market reports from the local sale barns, I think, is going to help make those decisions.
Could you wrap up by just talking about the importance of genetics in the selection of replacement heifers, and then how this ties into both the long-term sustainability and success for cow-calf operations?
Genetics are so personal for so many producers. So again, I want to be very clear that I'm not advocating one method over another. But this, again, is going to tie back to the goals of your operation. If it's very important to you to develop your own replacement heifers, you need to think about maternal traits. You need to think about stayability, lasting in the herd. If your goal is to have that calf check every fall and pounds at weaning matter to you, then you need to think about tying your goals to marketing endpoints and matching resources for that. So there's more than one way to replace females in your cow herd. And I think this market is giving us a lot of opportunities. And again, I can't stress the word flexibility right now enough. To stay flexible, study the markets. We all know that what goes up must come down. So at some point we may not have such great prices coming in, but we do need to think long term. And if we plan to stay in the cow-calf business, we need to think about how we are going to effectively replace females in the herd as they either age out or we lose them due to other factors.
Great. That is TL Meyer, a Livestock Systems Extension Educator with Nebraska Extension. And she has written a new article about this topic of replacement heifers and whether it's worth it or not. You can find that on our website at cap.unl.edu, which is linked to in the podcast notes. TL, thanks so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Nebraska Farmcast is a production of the Center for Agricultural Profitability at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. For the latest research-based information and education resources to manage your farm or ranch operation, visit our website at cap.unl.edu. That's cap.unl.edu.